What's up, you scruffy looking nerf herders, you Sith acolytes, you Jedi Padawans out there, every force wielding being in the universe, to another episode of Hops Geek News. We are your home for comic books, movies, TV shows, and of course, we typically feature a beer of the week. This week's episode is a really good one as we are going to be talking the Dark Disciple novel. It is Star Wars month, and so what better way to kick it off with Bad Batch ending? We got the return of a nice character in there. If you haven't seen it, I won't spoil it, but we are going to be talking Dark Disciple, which centers around Quinlan Vos, Jedi Knight Master, and also Asaaj Ventress. You know her from the Clone Wars and Count Dooku's one-time apprentice. But of course, first things first, go ahead, like, subscribe, share on all your favorite podcasting platforms. We're on YouTube. We do a live Cantina hour each and every week. This past week, we had a guest on where we talked Bad Batch. We talked about Phantom Menace 25th anniversary and all sorts of really good, fun stuff. And then I have a nice Star Wars shirt on from Roosevelt's. Check them out as too. They just released a nice May the 4th collection. I got a nice little Jar Jar action coming on in the mail. And then, as always, please drop a review. And that's what we got going on. Me and Lauren are here. I have a beer called Rise Up from Adroit Theory here in Virginia. I chose this because it says resist, rise up, man. And we're talking some Star Wars. And this is kind of like you got the light side, you got the dark side on each side of this can. You got the red with the blue shading. And to me, that symbolizes the novel that we're going to talk today, which is Dark Disciple, a little bit of both. Rise Up, consume life, drink art. It is a triple IPA. Lauren, welcome. What do you got?
I do not have yacht money.
That laugh made me think you had yacht money again, and I was about to just log off and go home, even though I am home. But I was going to log off and double go home.
And there's still yacht money in there, and for like 5 seconds.
And this symbolizes Emperor Palpatine on his yacht in Naboo.
That would be really funny.
Or Jabba's yacht in the middle of the sandy dunes of Tatooine.
Yeah, I mean, you can really connect yacht money to anything. So I'm actually drinking a beer you sent me a while ago from WeldWorks called Frozen in Carbonite Hazy Double IPA. So obviously, what better beer to kick off Star Wars month than this beer? If you're watching on the YouTube, you can see it's got Han Frozen in Carbonite. I will definitely post that one on the Instagram since I'm not drinking the same beer. Yeah. And I'm drinking it in totally the improper glass.
Oof.
Because this is a liquor glass. I don't drink liquor. But I found this for $3 in the Target dollar section area, and I had to freaking buy it because it's so pretty.
Oh my gosh, I need to go to Target's dollar section. Is it there right now? Did you just find that?
I got it maybe a week or two ago.
Son of a bitch, I gotta go to Target.
Cute stuff too. They also had some mugs. They had Rose Apothecary if you're a Schitt's Creek fan. They had a Central Perk mug. So this is mainly why I do drive up now, so I don't get sucked into stuff like that at Target. I feel like anytime I go into the store now, I leave with stuff like this in a new bathing suit. But yeah, never skip the Target dollar spot because there's some great stuff in there you definitely don't need.
Pretend that Lauren pulled out a yacht money and I'm now leaving on my way to Target just so I can get that glass.
Oh, but I want to, what do you call it? Peep my fit?
Yes, peep your fit. What do you got?
I'm not wearing Roosevelt's, but I am wearing a Greedo shirt.
Oh, Greedo.
It says Cantina Quick Draw. I got this for $2 at the Disney outlet.
Okay, so all right.
It's from Disney World, but.
That's amazing. $2?
Yeah. $2, yeah.
At the Disney outlet.
Yep.
Oh my God. Next time, I bet you can find some killer stuff there. That's awesome.
It's always hit or miss. Sometimes I walk out of there and I was like, meh. And sometimes I'm like, I have to start putting things down because if anybody's not familiar with it, it's Disney Character Warehouse. There's one by Disney, there's one by Universal. And they basically get stuff that doesn't sell out at Disney World. And sometimes it's only a little discounted and sometimes it's $2. I will say this is the last size left. Jessica's like, oh, go grab me,
I was about to tell you to go grab me one. Yeah.
Yeah, they only had small left. So this is a men's small. But
maybe it's for my bikini for our cruise.
There you go. You can cut the sleeves off and really go full beach mode. Sun's out, guns out. But it's a great place to get souvenirs. You just never know what you're gonna get. But yeah, it's fantastic.
It's like a mystery box. I like that. It's fun.
It kind of is. Yeah. When you go in there, kind of is. But I mean, we have a ton of stuff from the outlet. It's a great place too. Actually, every time we've gone on a Disney cruise, I've bought the souvenirs for the kids there and then put them in my suitcase. Since we're flying.
Oh my God, kids, look at this. Oh my God.
Oh, on the when we did the Christmas one, the elf brought them Disney Cruise Line shirts.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And it was like, oh, look what the elf just brought. And I because we get ornaments when we travel. And so a lot of times I actually buy the ornaments. We still get ornaments at the ports. So, we have ornaments from around the world, not just from the Disney.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Oh, yeah. It's so fun, too, when you decorate the tree because it's like, oh, remember this trip? And now I have my own little tree in my bar area that's all like our beercation ornaments.
I gotta make sure I pack my little Christmas tree for my upcoming nice 6-month vacation. But
Oof.
speaking of vacation times and all that good stuff, if you're not familiar with the show, we typically start with what we're drinking. We go into what we've messed up on and looked into, what we've been reading or watching, some news, and then our main topic. So, Lauren, what have you been reading or watching this week?
So one of the main things I read this week was the second issue of Minor Threats: The Fastest Way Down by Patton Oswalt, Jordan Bloom, and Scott Hepburn. I'm really loving this. I'm sure you've heard us talk about this before. It's the one where we actually got to, interview Remy himself to talk about it. But this world, forget Patton Oswalt has anything to do with it. This world is just so much fun. They've created these unique characters. The Fastest Ways Down is the second 4-issue run, and it's also connected to the alternates, but you can watch it on its own. It's really like a mafia superhero kind of thing, but they're not even superheroes. They're actually villains. And the powers are very creative. Because nowadays, if you told me to create a superpower, like good luck finding one that doesn't already exist. So they've done it's really fun, and it's really funny, and it's really pretty, and it's also very dark at the same time. So can't recommend that one enough. Again, that's Minor Threats: The Fastest Way Down by Dark Horse. And Weapon X-Men is another one I've been reading. There's obviously Wolverine. Onslaught is not being very nice, so Phoenix gets a team of 5 different Wolverines. But what's really cool about this is outside of Jane Hallett, the other 4 Wolverines are from different storylines, including Old Man Logan. And at the very end, there's actually an index, and I wish every single comic book would do this. I think it would probably sell more comics, because I read the back of this and it's like, this Wolverine is from, Old Man Logan, issue this or whatever, or it's from X-Men this. And it's tells you, if you want to go back and read more about this character, you can go read these comics. And like, I feel like we need more of that, other than just while you're reading it, those little notes like, see X-Men 97 issue 142.
Yeah. That's a really clever idea.
It's so clever.
I like that idea.
The other thing I watched, I did finish the Negan and Maggie show. It is not, this is not a series finale. The way they ended it, it's still ongoing. Basically the premise is Maggie needs Negan because Herschel's been kidnapped. So she's forced to work with him because Negan had kind of excommunicated himself from Alexandria and all of those people. He found another woman and started a little family with her and everything. And that's kind of where he was when the show ended, that I remember. It's worth watching if you like it. I only watched it because we still had AMC Plus, and I forgot to cancel it. So I'll probably be watching the Daryl Dixon show too.
This is how they get you, dude. This is how they get you, man. I
think AMC is only like $5. Well, I went to go cancel it, and I couldn't figure out how to do it on the damn TV. I don't remember where the hell.
Dude, you got like $14 for, like Disney Plus, like $20 for Netflix, and then you have, Amazon Prime's another whatever added.
We have cable
now, and then you have cable, and and then you have, it's just only $5, and then you have Paramount, and then you got Peacock, and all that adds up, man. It really does, and it's then freaking crazy.
$25 for Dune alone, so this actually seems like a deal.
We're not bringing money into this podcast. God damn it!
I got to watch the Heat games were on HBO Max for the finals.
They were. Some of the Bruins games have been on HBO Max as well, which is pleasantly surprising. And a lot of the NBA, I like that because TBS and TNT. So I have been watching some of the Celtics Heat, some of the other NBA games. I watched some of the March Madness. Yeah. And then the Bruins have actually been off and on there too. But you had to have known.
Nice. Well, I wouldn't be surprised if like I know a lot of people that aren't as big into some of the sports as they were because it's just so freaking inconvenient.
Trying to watch sports is super inconvenient. Like baseball, for example, it's impossible to ever be able to find the right channel or anything because there's always blackouts and everything like that. Football similar. And like, for example, tonight's Bruins game's actually on HBO Max too. So it's like kind of wild. I don't know.
Nice. But even like if we want to watch a Heat game, pay for a package. Oh no, you can't watch it tonight because the Magic are playing because they're local. Yeah. And then what's super annoying is like, twice a year, every year, the Heat come to Orlando. So usually we always go to those 2 games.
Yeah.
But what's super annoying, even like this year, like I didn't, neither of the teams are super great, but nosebleeds are like $5 when they're playing the Pelicans and then like $75 when they're playing the Heat.
Of course. Because they know that's how the market works, man.
And they know that half of South Florida has moved to Orlando. Those sons of bitches.
Yeah, nobody hates anyway. It's not like sports is just insane. But is that all you've been reading or watching?
started Dead Boys Detective, but I did not finish it. I'm 3
Oh, what
episodes
episode?
in.
3 episodes in. Okay. So I did watch the whole season. I will say it's 8 episodes, Netflix. I really liked it. It was
I'm
initially
loving it.
supposed to be a Doom Patrol spinoff. However, Doom Patrol ended and then they didn't carry forward. They recast the leads and then Netflix picked it up and now it's a
But
part of the
Rowena's
Sandman
still in it.
universe. Yeah, so they kept Rowena, I forget her name, but she's Rowena.
Ruthie
She's the night
O'Connell.
nurse. Didn't mind her so much in this. I really hate her in Supernatural.
I
I
think you'll
think she
come to love her.
overacted the fuck out of it in Supernatural. That's why. Whereas this, she's a little bit more calmer. But yeah, so really, really good show. It's a part of the Sandman universe. The only thing that has to do with Sandman is death is the same as in Sandman. Um, no word on if it's going to get a
Well, 'cause
season
they're
two.
both
A
Neil
lot of
Gaiman. I think they will. I feel like it's
well,
taking off.
it's Netflix, right?
That's true, but Netflix usually doesn't cancel till people are 3 seasons
You're
in.
right, until the 3rd season. So, but it was the most watched show on Netflix right now with like 4 million on the day it dropped, which is really impressive. So I'm
So
sure
did
it's
it
going to be season 2, but who knows?
end
It's
with closure?
Netflix. Yes, so they wrap it
Okay.
up where if they did not continue the show, you're going to be satisfied with that ending. However, they also left it open enough to be like, oh, this is where they
So they
could
knew what
go
they were doing.
further on. Yeah, like it's very neatly wrapped up with the possibility that, hey, guess what? If they do go into another season, you're good to go. So
Right.
we'll see. I did finish Bad Batch, the season series just wrapped up. Go check out our thoughts on the Cantina Hour episode that's out. And then I watched X-Men.
Oh,
Did you get
X-Men was so good this week.
man? So spoiler alert, 3, 2, 1. If you haven't watched X-Men yet, that was a heavy episode. Again, like there's it's kind of intense. We get Wolverine and Nightcrawler have like the best fight sequence
That
this entire
music.
like it's
Yeah.
like Nightcrawler, Kurt's got the swords, even with his tail, he's got 3 swords.
Now you have 9
Wolverine,
reasons.
yeah, and like they're going back to back, just cutting down the people. You know, Bastion had his own plan out there, but Mr. Sinister says he's playing him. Magneto breaks free and now has basically declared war on
His
humanity.
I feel like he should go do Calvin Klein ads.
Oh man, he was in his little black Speedo. I was like,
He
all
was
right,
looking
Magneto
pretty good up
fucks,
there.
dude. This is what
Did you
Magneto's packing under that suit. All right.
you see Megan from, Marvel,
Yeah,
the
Megan. Yep,
gangster?
yep.
Yeah, she posted the scene from 10 Things I Hate About You with the younger sister that's like, "If you have black underwear, that means you wanna have sex one day," and there was a picture of
Yes.
Magneto.
Dude, Magneto fucks. That's what he's packing. I mean, he was with Rogue, right? The last time he was in a suit or and everything is he was looking
Yep,
to get some from Rogue, so he packed his sexy underwear that night and never got to change out of them.
that was amazing. I also there was a moment that they, flashed the city and they actually showed the Twin Towers, which I thought was really interesting
Oh
because
yeah.
even
Well,
though
because
obviously this
Spider-Man,
was
yeah.
97, but yeah, right, like Spider-Man, they took it out of the Spider-Man movie, but it was I mean, and after 9/11 happened and Friends, they stopped using that view
Yeah.
of the Twin Towers, but obviously they didn't change that in the old episode, so it just kinda took my breath away for a second because 'cause I'm so used to not seeing that anymore.
It
It's
is
like a almost
interesting.
like a ghost when you see them, but
Well, you got be so such a staple in New York City for so long that we
yeah,
became accustomed to it, and then we had to get used to life without it. And yeah, so anytime you see it again, it kind of reminds you of a life that definitely is dead in a way, if that makes sense, because everything changed after that day and the whole world got reshaped. So I was with you. I was like, oh damn. And then we even
yeah,
got the Spider-Man cameo, which is pretty cool. He doesn't speak anything, but it's the original Spider-Man from the 90s. That was cool.
that was cool, that was very cool.
I
Yeah,
but
no,
no,
I loved this episode. It was
yeah.
right up there with the one with Gambit.
And Professor Xavier decided that he was going to grace the Earth with his presence again, and he got the whole ending of the episode was to me my X-Men, and now it looks like they're about to do battle with Magneto again, as we kind of figured was going to happen at some point, because Magneto's not going to stay a good guy forever.
No, but Magneto was right.
Oh man, that Magneto is right sequence was pretty. Yeah, it's so heavy in a sense that's like there's no good and bad. Everything's blurred. The lines are blurred. It's gray. And that's true. I mean, that's real life for you, right? It's just
Right, and
it's
look
so
how
good.
much better they have done with this compared to like the Phoenix movie. The Phoenix movie, one of the things I loathed was
Oh
how
man.
quick Magneto's mind just changed about things. He's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, okay." And there was no character, and Michael Fassbender had already played Magneto a few times. I really liked him as Magneto. I thought his
I did
character
too,
was great. I
actually.
thought he understood the character. So none of that made sense to me. It was like they just needed to push the story along really quick and just have a reason for Magneto to
They've
change
got
his
2
mind.
hours and we're just gonna, hey, you kind of just decide today that you're evil again.
Yeah, it was just like,
All right.
no, you don't change your mind. That nobody's that open-minded, I
Unless
guess.
you're Anakin Skywalker in Revenge of the Sith, but
Well, that was different
I know
though.
I'm messing
I feel
around.
like
That's my
that's
favorite
how
Star Wars
bad
movie.
that character development was for Magneto and Phoenix. Was I think
Yeah.
Anakin Skywalker was more justified without watching the Clone Wars cartoon,
Yeah.
watching
Yeah.
just the movie. Yeah, that's how bad that was. Okay.
It was good though. But yeah, we're getting ready to wrap up the season here soon. And then I read a couple things. So the first thing I read was the Flash annual from DC Comics. That was a pretty solid annual. I like sometimes with the Flash, it just feels like they don't know what to do in a story
Say
with the
that rushed.
Flash. Well, no, it's more of like with the Flash, they kind of get, oh, everything has to be like this. They try to outsmart themselves sometimes because the Flash can time travel and do all sorts of timey-wimey stuff.
Oh,
And so sometimes I feel like they try to get too smart with their plot and their things. So that's kind of how it feels. But it was solid overall. And then I read Space Ghost, which came from our pal
what?
David Pepose, man. It's the revival of an old 80s hero, man. And it was good. It was straight action right out the gate. Very good comic book. David Pepose, man, he is talent like I haven't seen in a while. He's got the chops for comic books. If you have not read any of his stuff, man, the last year of that man's life has been some of the best works. Just everything he puts out, you're gonna want to pick up and read. It's so damn good.
He's putting out a lot
Um,
lately. It seems like.
he is like Punisher, man, Savage Avengers, dude, like Moon Knight, City of the Dead, Space Ghost. Like he's doing some really good stuff. And don't sleep on him. Do not
Mm.
sleep on him. I hope some people pick this up this past weekend at Free Comic Book Day because it was Free Comic Book Day. So I hope you guys pick some of that up.
Oh, Space Ghost is in Free Comic Book Day, or you're saying grab it when
No,
you
no, no. I'm
go?
saying when you go to your local comic book shop,
Okay,
I
I
hope
got
people
you.
picked
I was
that
like, oh
up.
shit.
No, 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 no. But hey, pick it up, man. It's this past weekend was Free Comic Book Day. I hope you guys got some good hauls. But aside from that, that's all I got. Let's go into some news. Just got a couple bits this week. My Adventures with Superman season 2 premieres May 25th on Max. I really, really, really enjoyed the first season. It's super good. I hope you guys check that one out because wicked good. Aside from that, June 13th is the official premiere of The Boys.
I
I
cannot
don't
wait.
know if we've
Cannot wait.
I
We
think we've
will
talked
do an
about that, but
episode before that to catch people up. Oh, we've definitely. I've even done a TikTok about it. They just posted new posters today, so
that's
it's
what
like
it
at the
was.
forefront of everybody's mind. Yeah.
That's right.
But before that, we will do a recap of seasons 1, 2, and 3, and we'll probably go into a couple of the new characters we're expecting, including Jeffrey Dean Morgan's character and Chuck's character. Rob Benedict is going to be in this too.
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't know if he's from the comics. I honestly haven't looked it up at all. I just know he's going to be in it, and I saw him in the trailer.
Nice. Yeah. And then X-Men 97 has an Airbnb, which is actually in Westchester, New York. The lottery is getting ready to open, I believe, tomorrow, May 3rd. So it's already passed. If you've entered it, hopefully you got it. I know for a fact it's going to be absolutely insane trying to get there. Obviously you're not going to be able to book it right away, but some looks inside of it. It's like, it's got the animated posters. You get the
It looks
suits. Like
amazing.
there's a Sentinel head on the lawn. It looks so it's just wicked cool, man. So I would love to be able to do that one day. Hopefully that's something that stays around because it would be so cool to rent that out. And then last thing I have is Mikey Day and Ryan Gosling. I know that they did an SNL skit as Beavis and Butthead, but they actually just hit the red carpet for Fall Guy as Beavis and Butthead, and it's the best thing I've seen. I just had to plug that real quick because it is so cool. Ryan Gosling is like one of the coolest guys in Hollywood right now. I've got a mega man crush on that dude.
Did you watch the SNL clip?
I did. Yeah, it was
All
hilarious.
right. Well, and the one girl, I've never seen her break, and she turned around and just started hysterical laughing. They must not let her see them until they started recording.
Probably. I would imagine so. Dude, they're so in Mikey Day, man. He's one of my favorite hosts because he does Is It Cake? And that's one of our like favorite family shows. He's hilarious. He's one of the best like food TV shows hosts. And then Ryan Gosling, dude, like his job is beach, man. He's the best. But that's all I got. What do you got?
I don't have too much either, just a couple things. Cobra Kai is wrapping up this year or this summer. So July 18th, there will be 15 episodes. It says it's a 3-part event. So
it's coming out in July?
Yeah, July 18th.
What? What?
season. However, the Karate Kid movie has been pushed back to May 30th, 2025. Craven the Hunter has also been delayed to December 13th, 2024. I still haven't seen
Oh,
Madam Web.
wait,
I
they
still need
pushed
to see that.
Madam Web's coming to Netflix May 2 weeks, May 16th, I believe it is.
Okay.
We sauced ones, Patreon exclusive on that
Oh, that
one.
might be a great one to kick off Sauced Ones.
We're gonna have to kick off our sauced ones with Madam Web when it hits
Perfect. I was
Netflix.
already thinking, like, am I really gonna have to watch this? Because I heard nothing but bad things.
We're gonna get drunk and watch Madam Web. Subscribe to our Patreon, everybody.
Basta trailer is out.
Oh, speaking of movies that we don't need.
I mean, I'm still gonna see it because I'm obsessed. I'm not obsessed because Lion King is my all-time favorite movie. Actually, I watched Lion King this week. Josh asked Logan if he wanted to watch it because his birthday party is going to be Lion King themed because he wanted it to be King themed. And when I searched King themed parties on Amazon, Lion King came up. So we're watching it, and I was like, "Oh, I'll turn the music off for this." I'm like, "You're gonna want to put Lion King on real loud because Mommy knows every single word of that movie." So because I love the Lion King so much, and we are doing a Lion King episode this June as well to celebrate the 30th anniversary, I will see this. I don't really know what they're doing though. I feel like the trailer didn't show much as to the plot.
I don't like the live action. I didn't watch the last live action Lion King.
I did. I liked it. I didn't love it. Kaylee walked in and she goes, "This is unsettling," and she walked out.
Kaylee, you and me both, girl. Like that was my thought process. It just looks weird. I don't know. I'm in like but then meanwhile, I heard there's like rumors for the Hercules live action movie by Guy Ritchie apparently is in development.
That would make sense. A Hercules live action. That makes total sense.
But if Guy Ritchie's doing it, dude, I'm in. I'm so in the bag.
Here's the thing. The live action with the animals is not live action. It's CGI. I feel like that's the big difference. It's like one thing if you have like live action Ariel and like parts are CGI.
You mean they couldn't get real lions to reenact this movie?
I think they tried, and after a couple trainers were gave up.
That's crazy.
You think you know a guy. But we will get more into that. If you have not seen Lion King 1.5, the animated one, highly
that's hilarious.
Recommend watching that. It is freaking hilarious. I might actually rewatch that before we do our Lion King.
I'm going to actually.
So maybe we'll break down 1, 2, 1.5. And we
don't need to go beyond that. We're good. We don't need to do more than that. We're good.
We'll see. We'll have a guest that day. We'll see what Richard wants to
Richard Nebbins is coming back from the direct. Yes, he is doing killer things. He'll be joining us. So
my last piece of news is actually some Star Wars news before we get into Quinlan Vos and Asaaj Ventress. On May 10th, The Simpsons will release a Star Wars special on Disney Plus called May the 12th Be With You. I don't know why it's called that. They've done Star Wars specials in the past.
I don't know either. I don't watch The Simpsons.
And it comes out May 10th, so it's not even coming out on May 12th.
I saw a beer today that was from a local brewery that said The Simpsons did it first. And I almost picked that up for some reason because I was looking for Star Wars themed beers. And I was like, for some reason, this speaks to me. Had I read your notes, I would have picked it up for this exact reason.
Well, if anybody does not know, if you go on to Disney Plus has so much good stuff in there. It's just
there's just so much. That's the problem. Is there's so much good stuff.
But The Simpsons, when they bought Fox, The Simpsons actually did a really funny like nod to Marvel and a really funny thing for Star Wars as well. So if you just, it's probably under Simpsons.
Well, the Treehouse of Horror is like a classic. Like that's one thing I'll watch because I like the Treehouses of Horror. But I'm not really like South Park, Simpsons. Like I never really got into those kinds of shows.
I wasn't allowed to watch South Park.
Dude, it came out when you were like 35. What do you mean?
No, it didn't. It came out when I was like in middle school or something. Oh, you asshole. I'm going to look it up.
You're right. Anyways, let's go into our main topic now. We're going to be talking about Dark Disciple, the novel starring Quinlan Vos and Asaaj Ventress. We'll see you in a hyper minute. Welcome back. I don't know what a hyper minute is. I don't know what I was trying to say there. I'm just trying to throw Star Wars puns in anywhere I can. It's kind of cringy, actually, but
I got a bad feeling about this.
I do have a bad feeling about anything that comes out of my mouth. And we're going to be talking Star Wars, man. Dark Disciple. It's a very, very good novel. Probably like my favorite novel out in existence, if I'm speaking frankly. Lauren, what would you agree with that? Like, out of the Star Wars novels you've read, it's probably my favorite Star Wars novel.
It would probably be a tie between this and maybe one of the Thrawn ones.
Ooh.
I think it would be between this and the first Thrawn from 2017.
Fair. Heir from yeah, that's actually fair.
Timothy, well, not the heir to the empire. That was, I think, the
Oh,
older
oh, the
one.
Timothy Zahn ones.
Yeah, I didn't read the old
Yeah,
ones. I've only read the new ones, and now I would kind of want to read the old ones, but I know that they're not canon at all, so I'm like
they're
hesitant on doing it. But I loved
they're
this
picking and
book. This
choosing.
this was like not what I expected because it's a love story, but it's a love story that's still
It's a love
very much so
story,
Star
baby.
Wars.
Just say
It's a
yes.
Star Wars story first and then a love story. But I mean, there's a lot of love stories in Star Wars
Star
that
Wars is a
all
love. I'm sorry,
end
but if you go in
tragically.
and say like, I don't want love in my Star Wars, my brother in Christ, the entire galaxy turned into an empire because some dude couldn't contain his love for arguably the hottest woman in the galaxy, Natalie Portman, and then so he killed a bunch of
That's
kids
fair.
and followed some saggy old man
While
to
his wife
kill
was
the entire
pregnant.
galaxy while his wife was dead. Star Wars is a love story, okay? It's
I'm
so
still
much
waiting
love that
for
it even brought a brother and sister to kiss on the lips.
I really hope in the movie we get Bo-Katan and Mando doing it.
Oh, they're gonna
Hats
fuck.
off. Get it?
Leave the helmets. The helmet stays on during sex.
Hey, say man.
This book actually came out July 7th, 2015, written by Christie Golden, released by Del Rey. I read it that fall when I was actually on my deployment to Qatar. One of my friends there, him and I believe I've probably told this story, but that is when the, oh my gosh, what was the very first episode 7 came out, and we waited hours in line to go get tickets on the base to see this movie. I read the book for this I read a bunch of different Star Wars books during that time period because he would get them and then he would just like lend them to me to read. And yeah, so I read this on that deployment. One of my favorite Star Wars books, hands down. That was my introduction into this. But why don't you kind of kick us off here with some of your notes, Lauren? Take us away with some of the 2 stars of the book here.
Yeah, so both of these people, we just a heads up, we will be spoiling the book.
Oh,
However, the
spoilers
amount that we
galore.
are spoiling, it still will make it that it's still worth it to read the
Oh
book.
my
I feel
god.
like this is gonna be
Yes.
here's your Tim Stanley cameo. I don't think we've had one in a while. This is a great
No.
episode for Tim who refuses to watch the cartoons or read the books. So you're about to learn about two
You
characters
know
that I really hope they bring to live
you
action.
know what's funny about this? The fact that he does not like the cartoons. This was actually supposed to be an 8-episode plot in the Clone Wars. This
Yep.
was originally supposed to be 8 episodes, little subplot in the Clone Wars. It obviously got cut out and turned into a book. I'm sure you probably gonna say that, so I took over, but I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Yes, and both of these characters have been mentioned other places as well. However, we're just talking about the ones that are supposedly canon and that are in the shows and the movies. There are video games, comic books, and other areas that they are mentioned. So Quinlan Vos, this is his pre-Dark Disciple time. So Quinlan is from the planet Kifu, and he is a Jedi Master. He has the yellow line under his eyes that goes across his whole face. He is known for doing basically what he wants. He doesn't always follow the Jedi rules, which it seems like the best ones don't. And he is also has a very unique talent called psychometry, and so when he touches an item, he can see the item's memories. So this makes him really good at tracking people. And I read this, but I did not play the game. You can confirm this or deny this. Cal Kestis from the video games apparently has this talent as well. So it's considered like
Yes.
connected to the Force, but not every Force wielder has this.
Yes, correct.
So he is in the background of Star Wars Episode 1, Phantom Menace. You can see him on Tatooine. This actually led Dark Horse Comics to create the character, which I absolutely love that these comic book people are like, hey, that guy looks interesting. Let's create a backstory for him. Like, I think
I
that's
do
really
love
cool.
that. Yes.
Apparently, though, I have not read comics with him. His personality does differ from the comic book version, although his ability to sense the history of objects is in that comic book. And obviously, he does retain that quality in the book and in the Clone Wars. So
Mhm.
he is in Clone Wars Season 3, Episode 9, Hunt for Zero. Here he is voiced by Al Rodrigo. In this episode, Quinlan and Obi-Wan find Zero the Hutt, who is broken out of prison by Cad Bane. Quinlan was picked to help because of his tracking skills / talent. So before we get into Dark Disciple, do you want to tell us about Asaaj Ventress pre-Dark Disciple?
Yeah. So Asaaj Ventress first appeared in the Clone Wars animated film back in 2008. That's right. It kicked off the series, introduced us to Ahsoka, which led to some of the best Star Wars content we've ever gotten. Now, before this, she was actually born on Dathomir. You know that because Darth Maul was born there. Savage Opress was also born there, and that's known of the Night Sisters. She was then a slave for somebody. She was found by the Jedi and actually became a Jedi Padawan until her master was killed. She then killed all of the people that killed her master, and that completed her transition to the dark side. Fun fact, she actually had two voice actors, not including her Lego version. Gray DeLissel voices Monster Girl in Invincible and a ton of other stuff, and then Nika Futterman. Now, she's a trained assassin who was taught the way of the Force by Count Dooku. He saw potential in her after destroying all of those who killed her master. He then gave her two red lightsabers, which later on in Dark Disciple, she has a yellow one that she purchased, funny enough. And then in Bad Batch, spoilers for Bad Batch, her lightsaber is actually yellow as well. She was the first Star Wars character to have split lightsabers. And then, Ahsoka had some, and it's really badass. And in the animated Clone Wars movie, she helps Count Dooku kidnap Jabba the Hutt's kid and then frame the Jedi in the hopes that Jabba would join the Separatists. Obi-Wan was able to defeat Ventress, however, she escaped, as does every Separatist ever alive in this whole saga, right? General Grievous never met Anakin Skywalker until Revenge of the Sith, so they spent the entire Clone Wars finding ways for them never to actually meet, and it's the
I love
funniest
that
thing
though.
about
They
Clone
kept
Wars
it
to me.
consistent. They kept it consistent, man.
I know, dude.
Yeah.
It's like the funniest thing to be like, guys, how do they not meet? I don't know. Keep finding ways to mess it up.
They do that. There's this scene in Supernatural where you see two characters meet, and you're like, "Holy shit, they've never been in an episode together."
Yeah, right. It's kind of
But
wild that we have 7 seasons and they never once meet.
yeah, well, I think it's season 15. I won't say what the two characters are, but it's funny because they even say, "I can't believe this is my first time meeting you."
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so
Now,
I do want to point out, we said this was Asaaj Ventress's first appearance. This is her first canon appearance in these shows. She was in the 2003 version of Clone Wars as well, but that Disney is not considering canon. So
yeah, that movie. The animation's way off. I never
I didn't
really
even know that
cared
was
for
a
it. It's
thing
very
until today.
divisive. Yeah, it's very divisive actually, because a lot of people, because Ahsoka was introduced, and a lot of people are like hating on it. It's a movie that a lot of people are
Ahsoka
mad
was in
about.
that?
I thought she was. I could be just
How
talking out my
funny is that?
ass.
Here, I'll
But I'm
look it up real quick.
pretty sure she was.
But I was like, why
Uh,
do they keep saying? Because I kept finding things with Clone Wars. I'm like, I thought it came out in '08, and then I kept finding things that said
yeah,
'03.
there
I'm
was a
like, oh, this
movie. It
is
was actually
weird.
a movie. Yeah. So at one point, under Count Dooku's orders, she tries to convince the Toydarian king, the species that actually owns Anakin and his mom, aka Watto, to join the Separatists. But he told Ventress only if she captures Yoda before nightfall. Yoda, of course, beats her, and she again flees, which is a kind of a growing theme with the Sith or Dark Force
Hey, they
wielders.
know when they're about to lose, and they get the
I
hell
mean,
out
that's
of
fair.
there.
You live to fight another day, man. I got
There you go.
smart money moves right there, right? She tries to steal Jango's DNA at one point to stop clone production. However, Anakin stops her. She fought and won against Ahsoka. However, she failed to stop the clone production, and this made Sidious start to get fed up with her failures. And he fears she will try to overthrow him. So when she asked Dooku for help with Obi-Wan and Anakin, however, side note, she was doing well against Obi-Wan until Anakin showed up. He tells her, "Nah, I'm good, man." While fighting the Jedi, her starfighter attacked her and she was left to die. She was then found by a raider who brought her back solely to get info from her. She was having none of that, kicked his ass, took his ship, and went back to Dathomir. Now, the Night Sisters are down to help her, so they create Savage Opress, who was a Night Brother. He
Vosh.
was
It's so like because it's spelled savage. I always have that. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
no,
I
I
subtitles that, I'm
completely
like,
agree.
this is so stupid. Can you add an H or something? Because it's savage.
Like,
Okay,
is this Savage? No, it's Savage.
we know what you're doing.
Yeah, the Night Sisters, they're down to help her. They have Savage Opress, and they turn him into something else darker, stronger, powerful to go and help, quotes, Dooku. That's when if Ventress shows up to fight with Savage, he fights the both of them, or she fights the both of them. When Grievous showed up on Dathomir, the Night Sisters tell her to go. She meets Boba Fett, and this is when she becomes a bounty hunter with child Boba Fett. And yeah, that one's like a fun little side plot that happens. At one point, she actually ends up helping Obi-Wan Kenobi, who was attacked by Savage and Darth Maul. It ends in a stalemate. Asaaj Ventress loses her red lightsabers after Barriss Offee steals them to frame Ahsoka Tano for the bombing of the Jedi Temple hangar, which actually kind of also kickstarts Anakin's fall to the dark side because Ahsoka gets screwed over by the Jedi and Mace Windu especially. And at that point, she vows, she doesn't vow, she just straight up says, hey, you know what? I'm leaving. I am a citizen. I'm out. Peace. I'm no longer in the Jedi Order. And that kickstarts just a whole
Well, and Anakin was the only
craziness.
one that was like completely on her side.
Exactly.
Believed
He
her,
believed
like
her.
the only one completely on her side, which just makes it all the more devastating as to how their relationship took
Yeah.
a turn.
So, yeah. And that sets off the whole thing. So Ventress agrees to help her. This is, of course, to get her own name cleared. She even works with Anakin on this case.
And
This is
Anakin's all
when
like,
she's,
I don't want to work with you, but if I have to.
it's, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And it's all for the betterment of Ahsoka, right? And
Which
now,
is big in, I feel like, Star Wars, the enemy of thy
yes,
enemy.
you're always working with people you don't want to work. And this is when we see her switch to the yellow blade that we actually see in Dark Disciple and Bad Batch. Afterwards, she continues to bounty hunt until she meets Quinlan Vos. So
Although they do a little bounty hunting together.
they get a little booty, if you will. Now, why don't you go ahead and take us away with a quick summary of Dark
Here is your
Disciple.
quick summary. So this book takes place between episodes 2 and 3. So this is while the Clone Wars show is going on. Any Asaaj Clone Wars scenes happened before this. So everything we just said. Basically, Dooku has finally crossed the line and the Jedi Council has decided he has got to go. He has got to die. But who should we have kill him since we are Jedi? Obi-Wan actually suggests Quinlan Vos because of his unique skills, being that he is a Jedi Master, because he can, read the history of the objects, and because he spends a lot of time undercover, and he's really just damn good at what he does. So Quinlan then asks, like, hey, can I get a partner? So Yoda is the one who suggests Asaaj Ventress because he knows she's damn good, and he knows that she hates Dooku because Dooku turned on her.
True.
Quinlan tracks her down and he basically messes up her job that she's working on. She's seeking a bounty. She's about to get it. And Quinlan steps in and messes it up. So he then helps her get this. He gains her confidence and they start hooking up and catching bounties together. A real power couple.
Yeah, they do. They're catching bounties and looting booty.
I love it. I love them. I mean, again,
look, I'm going to be real, man. If the Jedi were just allowed to fuck a little bit more, they probably wouldn't have fallen completely to the dark side.
Same thing with priests. You can't suppress some biological urges. I mean, you can. Consent is key here, kids. But yes. But okay, so one of the things I feel like, and I'm seeing this more and more, it's like why I love the Rick and Michonne show so much. It's like you have two hot people, and granted they are cartoons, but the way they're described in the book, they're pretty hot. That are badass, and again have mutual respect for each other, and I don't know. I guess I just fall in love with that.
I love a good love story. I'm a sucker for a love story too, man. Especially it's forbidden love. There's something yeah.
If this isn't wrong, I don't want to be
some
right.
real Romeo and Juliet shit right here, man.
All right, so let's see where we were. So, okay. Then he tells her about the mission to kill Dooku. So he finally is like, hey, look, I was actually sent to find you because I need your help killing Dooku. And she's down for that, but she tells him he's going to have to tap into the dark side of this for this to happen because the dark side is stronger. She tells him to fuel his dark side. She tells him that Dooku actually killed his master, and so that helps him go a little darker, a little quicker.
Can't trust
Eventually, they come face to face with Dooku. Asaaj manages to escape, but Quinlan actually gets kidnapped. This leads to him being tortured, and Dooku revealing that Asaaj was actually the one that killed Quinlan's master. I remember reading that and being like, no. Did that make sense? Then we believe that Quinlan has turned, and he is now Team Dooku. Asaaj eventually, actually with the help of Obi-Wan and some other Jedi, do get him back. There's some double agenting going on, kind of. Because I remember reading it and being like, wait,
so
is he good? Is he bad? Is he fully dark? Is he not fully dark?
Yeah. Okay. So here's the thing with this book, right? This is where it really puts on, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to kind of cut you off, but this book ultimately encapsulates everything that is wrong with the Clone Wars in a sense of the Jedi are clearly wrong in the way they go about things. The Sith are Darth Sidious is up here puppeteering. He's got Dooku twisted. He's got Asaaj all twisted. The Jedi are her just ass backwards at this point. And it's kind of crazy because Anakin and Mace Windu are for once on the same side. Dude, Obi-Wan, what do you mean? You're sticking up for Asaaj Ventress? Because he's like, hey, no, we should get Asaaj, his former apprentice. And then actually they bring Asaaj in at a point and we'll pardon you for every single war crime you have committed if you can help us capture Count Dooku. And then the whole thing is with the Jedi is they send Quinlan Vos undercover. And Obi-Wan's like, this is a dangerous game. Like, what if he falls to the dark side? And then also he
When
doesn't
they
sit right.
right, and they're telling him to kill him.
Yeah, well, that's what I was about to get to, right? Like the Jedi are over here, like, hey, we want you to assassinate Count Dooku. And Obi-Wan this whole time, this just shows you that he is the most perfect Jedi to have ever. He is space Jesus to me, because Obi-Wan is like, something not so chill is going on here.
Right.
We're the Jedi. We're not supposed to murder people. Like, that's not us. Like, we're not even supposed to be war fighters. Like, we are keepers of the peace. We should capture him. And they're like, no, we are going to murder him. And he's just like, that doesn't sit well with me. So that's what's so good about this book. Like, there's so much going on.
Yeah.
Anyways.
It's also when you read things and watch certain things, you're like, just kill Joker already, Batman. So
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I get it. I would be like, yeah, we're going to fucking kill Count Dooku and General Grievous and everybody. But Obi-Wan, again, he's a Jedi through and through, man. That's him. Like,
but see, I've never killed anyone, so I'm sure the first kill's the hardest.
True.
And then it's compared
just
to
ask
something
Anakin. He killed Mace Windu, and then next thing you know, he's killing kids. So the first kill was obviously hard, and then from there, it just got a lot easier.
Mace Windu's hiding under a dumpster somewhere. He's still alive.
Oh, no.
So Quinlan wants to kill Dooku, and when Dooku actually goes to lightning kill him, an injured Asaaj jumps in front of it to save him because she loves him. She does actually save Quinlan, which actually brings Quinlan fully back to the light side to kind of see like, oh my gosh, she sacrificed herself for me. Dooku, of course, escapes because he has to. His story's not done. And then supposedly she dies in Quinlan's arms, letting him know that there is still hope for him.
With arms wide open.
So then the Jedi Order decides to pardon Quinlan, realizing that they were the ones that truly fucked up and they were the ones that caused him to go to the dark side. And then Quinlan also tries to clear Asaaj's name, and he goes to Dathomir with a couple of Jedis to properly bury Asaaj Ventress because she is the love of his life. This is where she came from. And obviously, people don't always stay dead on Dathomir.
Obviously, the Night Sisters bring her back to life, which I completely forgot about happens in the end of this book.
I didn't really remember that either because I felt like,
because I was like in Bad Batch, I was how the hell is she still alive? And then I'm like,
I figured that was what it was. But like when you texted me that earlier, I actually meant to go back and reread the end because I did not remember that either.
Yeah, and so they bring her back to life.
But then,
so
a couple more notes about the book that I just wanted to say. For one, the cover of this, if you ever watched Once Upon a Time, it looks like Rumpelstiltskin from Once Upon a Time. I don't know why, but I think that's really funny. I already said my Rick and Michonne comment. I also, one of the things that I love about just reading books in general and is how they describe people and places, and the way that Ventress was described by Quinlan, I thought was just so beautiful because, you know, they make her very dark in the cartoon and it's still a cartoon and it's very, you know, clearly a cartoon. She's not, you know, a cartoon can only be so sexy no matter what you tell a kid who grew up in the 90s with The Little Mermaid.
So that's the anime kids who are over here with their anime pillows and
that's what Dean likes, that
tentacle porn, man.
But you know, cartoon can only be so attractive, but the way she's described by Quinlan is just so beautiful. And also Obi-Wan even warns him about her beauty, and she uses her beauty,
which is weird because in a cartoon she's definitely not, but
name a really hot person in their cartoons.
Man, I don't know. I'm sure I've got some.
Yeah,
I don't know. No. If anybody's listening to this, which cartoons do you find hot? Because I'm sure
I do really like, what's the guy from Clone Wars that breaks good? Not Clone Wars, Rebels, and ends up with Zeb. I always forget his name, but I feel like a live action, like Jensen could play him live action. Why do I always?
Oh, is he the one with like the mutton chops?
Yes.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Which is so funny. I had a friend in high school who's like, Tarzan's hot. I'm like, he's a cartoon.
And then Lauren, finally, here we are, like 15 years later, 20 years later, Lauren's like, son of a bitch, I finally get it now.
Those damn mutton chops. Didn't expect that to happen.
He had that whole like colonial dad vibe going on, and I don't know, it just worked for me.
I don't know what it was. But yeah, I loved that character. I'd love to see him in live action. With Zeb, I'd love to see what they're doing, how they're hanging.
Zeb was in live action once. We got to see him.
We got to see Zeb for 5 seconds. I wanna see
That's
the
true.
2 of them together, like,
Listen,
what because
sometimes 5
they
seconds can feel like a lifetime, all right?
he
Don't
looked
shame.
so good too in that. Oh my gosh,
They
it was,
did.
like, the best CGI character I've ever seen in my life. It was so good.
He was. Anyways, yeah, it was, you're right. He did like, hey, she's beauty, don't fall into it. And Obi-Wan's like, yo, dude, temptations. I know what it's like. Because
And she uses it
James
to her
Arnold
advantage.
Taylor, who voiced Obi-Wan in the Clone Wars, even says he's all about the Satine. He ships Obi-Wan and Satine. He confirmed that Satine was his boo. So you know what? Even Obi-Wan fell to love at one point, which again, if the Jedi were just allowed to be in love, man, just saying. Just saying. So
Why
I
don't you
like
tell us
Qui-Gon
what,
Jinn so much, but
I guess there's not too much about post-Dark Disciple, but what happened to
well,
Asaaj?
she dies in the book. Gasp. But she doesn't actually die because the Night Sisters, they're magic witches, man, right? She shows up in Bad Batch again, where she actually assists our crew. And she's kind of a bounty hunter, yeah. And that's one thing I like too, is in Clone Wars for a period, she leaves, she becomes a bounty hunter with like Boba Fett and stuff. And you're just like, that's so fun that Boba Fett and her were bounty hunters at a point. And it just, that's the only like thing that I love about Boba Fett where they expanded on, was the fact that she was with him for a time. He was a kid. That's what he
Yeah.
did after Django got his head cut off by Mace Windu. Um, she kind of takes him in and teaches him the ways of bounty hunting and then going forward. But the witches on Dathomir, where she's from, they bring her back. Quinlan buried her there. That's pretty much probably why she's in Bad Batch. We see her with her yellow lightsaber. She tests Omega to see if she's force sensitive. She tells them all to lay low. And then I love the whole, like, they wanted to test my M count. And
They didn't know
that's
what
where
it
she
was.
talked. Yeah, they had no idea. And she's like, your metachlorian count. It's basically how much force. Like, everybody has M count in them. It's not the only thing that makes you a force wielder, which I actually thought was pretty cool, because she's an asshole in the Clone Wars TV show, but
But there are parts she's not.
right, exactly. Like, and then when you read this book, that further deepens her character. Like, and then Quinlan Vos, like, he's not dead either, because we get reference to him in the Kenobi show. He's clearly helping smuggle people around. Because
Yeah.
yeah, right. So I'm wondering, like, are we going to get them live action? I've been saying it. Anya Taylor-Joy would make a great Asaaj Ventress. For some reason, like, I'm drawn to her as Asaaj Ventress. I don't really know who could
I
play
think she'd
Quinlan
be really
Vos.
good. The only well, I guess her species, I'm sure, ages slower because she's supposed to be, like,
Yeah, why
older
couldn't they
now.
both?
She was
Like,
born in, like, 55, like, battle before
not
Yavin.
yeah, not everybody was sitting on the sands of
I guess we're
Tatooine and
not there
aged like
yet.
Alec Guinness and Obi-Wan. Poor guy. I mean, who's to say she couldn't be? I mean, the things
I
that I
guess
love
actually
about,
it
like,
does add up because I'm thinking, like, we're not at she's not 55, we're not at the Battle of Yavin yet. So this is still Clone Wars. So, yeah, that would make sense that she would be about 40-ish.
she could definitely still be around. I mean, Cal Kestis is probably around. Obviously, Obi-Wan's dead, but if Obi-Wan wasn't dead, he's probably still around somewhere. Like, people age differently. She's not human,
Right, that's why I
like,
didn't wasn't sure how slow she aged.
and then who's to say, like, humans age like we do now, I guess, in this universe. It's a fake fictional universe. Why couldn't
I mean,
Quinlan
there are
Vos
people
still
I
be
look
around
at and I'm
somewhere?
like, "That person's younger than me."
I see people and I'm like, wow, that person's my age. And then I go into a spiraling midlife crisis because I'm like, do I look like this leather purse over here? Like, what is
Or
happening?
when you learn that you're not much younger than when the Golden Girls started.
Oh man, I know. And then, like, you're just like, oh no. My son actually has been asking me. He's like, "Did you walk to school in the 1990s? Did
Uphill
you
both
did you
ways.
do this in the 1900s?" I'm like, and then, like,
The 1900s. The first time Brielle said that to me, and I'm like, "What the
Jesus,
fuck?"
I'm about to
Like, the
beat your ass right
1900s
here.
is like the year
Shut
1900.
your mouth.
Alright, so Blanche was 53 years old when the Golden Girls first started. So she was 13 years older than I
Wow,
am now.
she looked like she was Betty White on her deathbed, but
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
when the new, Sex and the City came back, people are like, "Yeah, this is the Golden Girls." I was like, "Oh my god, it
Oof.
is."
It is. But going back to Dark Disciple, man, because I know we got a lot, but I know they can never really do this as a live action story because
They
obviously
could though.
Sir Christopher Lee's dead. He's Count Dooku. Not to say like he is the defining Count Dooku. They could get somebody else, but like he's Count Dooku, man. So I don't know
Oh,
that they
for the
would.
actual actor, okay. I was like, "He
Yeah.
doesn't die until after this." Got you.
But the thing that I love about what we're doing now, like the Bad Batch filled in some time. It started right after Order 66. It ended with the rebellion going on. Is that we have so much space within the Star Wars
Other
universe
stories.
we could fill in. There's so many things that we could tell, you know, between the 20 years between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope, between the 20 years or whatever between, you know,
Yeah.
episode 4 and 7, you know, between the 20 years between episode 6 and 7, even there's so many stories. And then shoot, we're getting the new Daisy Ridley with Rey Skywalker. Like that, that
I mean, that's
trilogy's
far into the
starting to
future, though,
film.
yeah.
Yeah, but
It's
that
interesting, yeah,
trilogy's
we're
starting to film.
so encompassed with this time right before the original trilogy and right after right now. It seems like that's all the content we've been getting. So it is kinda interesting. But what's really cool, you were just talking about the, comment about him and Obi-Wan Kenobi. So in Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, Obi-Wan tells Anakin that Vos has moved his clone troopers out of the planet Boz Pity. So
Yeah.
give us that story. And then what happened? Like, how cool would that be with a movie about them? And it starts with like Vaz just getting his clone troopers out of there. And then, yeah, what you were saying, it's in the Jedi Underground Railroad. And, that's very important too, because that means there's another Jedi who survived Order 66. But I
Oh
mean, they
yeah.
could really do a ton of fun things with this, and I would love for him and Ventress to meet back up. And how cool would that be if we find out Ventress was saving force sensitive people, and that's why she tells in Bad Batch, she's like, "Yeah, I don't think you're force
Oh,
sensitive. You don't need to worry about this. You need to just do this." I mean, this
you
is before
just,
Obi-Wan Kenobi, but
dude.
that would be cool.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that because again, like Bad Batch doesn't provide us closure for her. Kenobi
No.
doesn't provide us closure for. We could be exploring and whole. Like the one thing that I want, if we're bringing Hayden Christensen back into this universe, give me a TV series that's 8 episodes, 10. I'll even take 6. It's Darth Vader hunting down Jedi, and
We got
then
a
like
little bit of that
we
in,
did,
Obi-Wan Kenobi,
but like give me a series, Disney, where
like the
Darth
comic book.
Vader. Yeah, and then like I know I pitched this on the Cantina Hour, but Omega went off to be a rebel pilot. Give me the Rogue Squadron movie. Why don't you make it the Omega Squadron then? Because then you can have her leading her own squadron of rebel pilots in during the Battle of the Empire. You have all
Mhm.
of these characters you've introduced that are so big and now they're staples in the universe. There's so much
I
story to be
still want
told.
live action Rex too. Oh god, I
Dude,
really
I
want live
know.
action
Like, and
Rex.
then Rex's story was never finished.
Mm-mm.
Rex's story, they saw him
He
in
was on the
Rebels.
Battle of Endor.
Yeah, and alleged,
They
you know,
say
they
that at the end of
confirmed
Rebels.
he's still, and then they never showed us the Clone Rebellion yet. Like I thought that's what they're going to do in Bad Batch. We never got the Clone Rebellion, so we can get a story about the Kathleen Kennedy needs to hire me because I got great idea.
It's your
Great
job
ideas.
application right here. Just send her this video.
Great ideas, Kathleen. Let trust. Gonna be huge. But do you have any other thoughts on the book? Because man, I love this book. I loved that it showed the flaws in the Jedi. It showed that Asaaj isn't this heartless, gutless monster, right? And it also showed her that the Jedi were walking a very tedious line. Quinlan
Mhm.
became dark side. He went back. He went forth. Like it even showed that you need to almost have emotion to balance yourself out as a force user.
You
You know,
can't
not everybody's
suppress
going to agree with that. I know a
yeah,
lot of people that
no.
thought of a gray Jedi is very controversial. I'm not saying you have to be a gray Jedi, but
But
oh,
again, sex aside, you can't suppress natural human emotions.
or just
And
natural like
what I don't
primal
get either,
instincts from any creature.
why would you not want force sensitive people to procreate? That's how you get more force sensitive people.
Yeah,
Like, obviously,
again,
like, you look at Han and Leia, like, yeah, Kylo Ren, like, he didn't just happen to be hugely force sensitive. That was
and then
genetic.
not everybody has to be a Skywalker to have force powers either, which is kind of nice, right?
Right. I get that you're not guaranteed. I think to have a force sensitive child, like, you look at Palpatine's son, I don't think was force sensitive, Rey's dad.
No, he
So I
wasn't.
guess it
And
skipped a generation there, but obviously Luke and Leia were force sensitive, so
or who's to
who
say he
knows?
wasn't? He could have been
And
force
he never
sensitive.
tapped into
Palpatine
it.
was his dad. Like Palpatine obviously wasn't going to
Well,
give
that
his
could be
power
that
to
he wasn't
anybody
even
else.
gonna play with it.
I mean, aside from
That
that,
makes
the
sense.
whole idea of Palpatine having kids, anyways, you know, clones or not, like that's just a weird concept that I don't like. But whatever.
I mean, there's some of the clone troopers have kids. Remember
Well,
the
I
one
mean, I
guy
guess
who lived, like, on a
Palpatine as a
farm?
senator on Naboo before he got all creepy and saggy, like sure he
Just because
probably
he's
could have.
gross. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, that's my idea. But I
Gotcha.
guess he could have like faked it all on Naboo. Anyway, yeah, that's just neither here nor there. But yeah, man, I mean, I love Star Wars so much. I could talk
Yes.
Star Wars. This is why May is my favorite month on the podcast. I could just talk forever and ever. And next week, actually, Star Wars month continues with our 5 favorite characters and our 5 most overrated characters in the Star Wars universe.
So I know my favorites. I don't know my overrated yet.
I definitely know my favorites. I know maybe like 1 or 2 overrated. So this is probably gonna be pretty divisive. I'm interested to see where we both land because we're not gonna tell each
Yeah.
other our answers beforehand.
Ooh. Oh, so we can't put it in the doc then. We're gonna have to do
Mm,
separate docs.
we're gonna have to like keep it separate because I don't want to know yours and I don't want you to know
Okay,
mine.
I
I
like
feel like
that.
it's gonna be
Like that
good, man. Like,
genuine reactions.
yeah,
I
we're gonna
don't
get
know that
some
you'll be
reactions.
surprised in any of mine though. Although as much as I would love to add one of them, neither of them are gonna make it on there because I just feel like they're Quinlan Vos and Asaaj Ventress are not
They're not my favorite and they're
necessarily
not
big
overrated. So
enough.
I'll spoil that right now. I don't think
Yeah.
I've seen enough from especially Quinlan Vos to be
Yes.
one way or the
Yeah.
other.
I mean, I fucking loved him in this book though, man. Freaking loved him.
Yeah,
Yep.
but
That's
man,
what I got.
it's great. Make sure you guys, as always, though, please, if you want to see more, Cantina Hour for the month of May is probably going to involve a lot of Star Wars talk. We are going to probably throw in some Patreon exclusive episodes in there, maybe about the Rise of Skywalker we've talked about, and then of course next week is our 5 favorite characters, 5 most overrated characters. We're going to be talking the movies, TV, all that kind of good stuff. So the only way you can do that is by subscribing on YouTube, subscribing on the podcast platforms, following us on social media. Hops Geek News is where you can find all of those things, man. And then if you want to support the show, you want to get involved in our Sauced Ones episodes that are probably going to start with Madam Web, where
They're definitely gonna start with Madam Web.
we basically are going to watch these movies and see how many beers is it going to take for us to find enjoyment in a movie is kind of the premise. And we're going to bring Patreons on to talk about it. Patreons get to choose the movies and just a lot of fun, right? So the only way, again,